What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with 5 days out physique update of Hunter Labrada, who is in Italy right now along with his coach Ben Chow. And he is absolutely aiming to crush his competition. And not just his competition, but also the versions that we saw from him in the past, that stepped on the Olympia stage, especially the Olympia last year, and Tampa Pro last year. So I cannot help but notice how great he is looking, especially in the recent update. And this will only get better as the inflammation reduces and Hunter gets rid of all the water. So I am glad to see most of these guys putting out so much content on their YouTube channel, especially when they are this close to the show, because this really builds up more hype, and not just for these Olympia qualifiers, but for the big show as well. So there was never any doubt to begin with that Hunter is gonna absolutely dominate this show. He showed us all what he is really capable of at Tampa Pro last year, which was the best look of his career so far. But this right here, they are gonna beat that look, and not only just in terms of conditioning, but in terms of the overall size, the graininess, and the kind of muscularity that he has right now. Because the thing is, this offseason, that has been the smoothest one for Hunter, and he was able to make some tremendous progress this time. So cannot wait to see one of the biggest bodybuilding stars right now get his Olympia qualification, and also see his new physique. So a top 5 finish is what Hunter is looking for this year. What do you guys think? Is that in his reach? Next up is the update of Samson Dauda, who looks to be in a very good mood for 5 weeks out of the show. So if you have been following Samson for a while now, you must know what I mean by that.
If anything, I'm pushing more heavier squats now than I was in the off season because I don't have enough calories. And yes, it is tiring because your energy level is extremely low. You don't have that kind of energy push there, but that's more reason for you to keep those loaded very heavy when you're trying to bring the calories down, because your body will literally cannibalize those muscle groups and use it for fuel.
So Samson is ready to push past all his previous limits, especially for this year's Miss Olympia prep. And as per him, he wasn't training this heavy ever in any of his past preps. And even scarier part is that he is training even heavier than his off-season. And that is just next level of dedication and some insane strength, because the thing is, his calories must be going down continuously, and his cardio must also be going up by the week. And still the man is training so damn hard and heavy.
So you need to keep them heavy so your body kind of leaves those muscle groups alone, and they stay quite full, they stay quite hard, they stay dense.
So all the bodybuilding gurus and the experts, they believe the only way for Samson to get shredded is to suffer really hard. And it isn't like he wasn't suffering before, especially when he was working with Milo Sarcev. But in some of those extreme case scenarios, guys used to go very low carbs or even zero carbs for weeks on end in order to get that thin skin texture. Kevin Lavroni was famous for doing all the fish diet, especially in the final few weeks, leading into a Miss Olympia prep, to get absolutely peeled. So maybe that is something that Samson needs to do this time. All in all, the judges want to see more detail and more separation from Samson. They want to see him close that conditioning gap between him and Derek and Hardy and Nick. So everything has improved for Samson, especially from the back in this offseason. His back in particular has came up so much, especially that back lat spread. That is looking so damn good right now. So will this be the best year for Samson in terms of his Olympia placings? I cannot wait to see his battle with Nick Fokker, because both these guys have beaten each other once. So this will be the decider. Next up is the update of Brandon Curry. So most of us are really concerned with how his legs are gonna look at the Olympia stage this year in 5 weeks time. And that is the major reason why Brandon isn't even in the top 5, or in some cases not even in the top 7 for this year's Mr. Olympia predictions. So we got to see a glimpse of his legs and how they are looking for 2024. And keep in mind, as per Brandon Curry, this isn't a workout that was done yesterday. As per him, this was taken about a month back. So that might be recorded when he was like 7 or 8 weeks out of this year's big show. So with his quads totally pumped, we cannot expect to see a lot of separation and detail. Because the thing is, Brandon doesn't have the most separated quads, even when he is on the stage. And this has always been the biggest criticism, the biggest knock on his physique throughout his career. But again, I'm gonna say, his stats speak for themselves. So people often say that he won the Olympia in a weak lineup. Even I have said that before. And yes, that is true to a certain extent. But one cannot deny that Brandon placed second twice in 2020 and 2021. In fact, he came so close to dethroning Big Ramy in 2021. And there was a difference of just 1 point between both these guys after the end of prejudging. So Rami was able to make a very strong comeback, and he just sealed the deal, and he shut the door on Brandon. So if Brandon is able to place 4th this year, that will be considered a real upset, especially if we go by the general pulse of the bodybuilding community right now. Next up is the physique update of Jon Dan Russell. So there is zero hype behind this guy, who is one of the most experienced guy in this year's Miss Olympia lineup after Brandon Carey. So Jon being able to improve at this point in his career after having multiple injuries, and when he is close to 40 years old, that is so inspirational. That is him defying all the odds. So he finally won a show after 2019 for the very first time this year, and that was the last time Jon was on the Olympia stage. So he did not make top 10 that year, but the way both him and his coach Patrick Tour, they have been so consistent with their conditioning and absolutely peaking to perfection every single time we saw him on the stage. And that was 3 times this year, by the way. So based on his performance this year, Jon must be aiming for a much higher place this time. So the judges have always prioritized conditioning over anything else, especially for the Olympia. And Jon looked amazing at his last show in Tampa. So the side shorts as well as the back shorts, they are very strong poses for him. The back shorts in particular are the ones that gave him the edge over Muhammad Fawda in Tampa. So nobody is talking about him because he isn't one of those guys who is either really gifted in terms of size or in terms of shape as well. He isn't the most freaky guy out there. He isn't the biggest or the widest guy on the stage either. But that being said, he is gonna be one of the most conditioned guy, and that is why I think he can be top 10. Next up is the life update of the German bodybuilding legend, Dennis Wolf. So bungee jumping is one of the scariest adventures that anyone can experience, and no professional athlete, especially an IFB pro, who weighed 280 plus pounds for most part of his professional career, would ever attempt something like that, especially when they are still competing. But now that the Wolf is retired from the sport, he is experiencing different things in life. So this was scary stuff done by Wolf. And just take a look at the comment section. Most of the people were really shocked, especially at his courage to attempt something like that. So I am glad that Wolf has made his peace with that incident that forced him to retire from professional bodybuilding. Because the thing is, Dennis did not go out on his own terms. He was in the prime of his career when that neck injury happened. And the last Olympia that he did, that was 2015. He was top 4 that year. So his career was definitely cut short by at least a few years. And those first 2 after retirement, they were the hardest one for him, because he had nothing else to do. So looking at his size and structure, you wonder why this guy never won the Olympia. And the answer is Phil Heath and Kai Green and their supremacy in those days. So the man looks really fit right now, especially for his age. He loves to train and eat very clean, but in a limited amount, so that he stays lean all year long, just like Jay Cutler. Next up, we have an update from Wesley Beers, hitting his trademark most muscular shot 5 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia. So the man also posted a comparison from this year's Arnold Ohio prep versus this year's Miss Olympia prep. But the difference right now is that he is about 3 pounds heavier compared to that previous version. And that is also really evident in his physique. So not really sure whether his legs really improved, especially in terms of the overall size. But the separation and the detail right now, that is definitely looking much more improved, which solidifies one fact, that Wesley is gonna be 100% better for this year's Miss Olympia compared to what we saw at the Arnold Ohio and UK earlier this year. So Wesley wasn't really messing around when he said that he had about 3 to 4 pounds of more room to get bigger and to put on more muscle before he reaches his weight cap. So this will be the most muscular version of Wesley you guys will ever see on a bodybuilding stage. And I think it is gonna be absolutely game on for Classic Physique Miss Olympia this year. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.